Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I have a fun DIY pocket card featuring brand new products from the Pretty Pink Posh birthday release. This is a part of their 11th birthday celebration, so happy birthday Pretty Pink Posh and the crew over there. Today's card features the Fringe Present dies, and these Fringe dies have been so popular when I've shared them here. I've shared one with trees and one with hearts, and now we're going to do the birthday themed version with this present die. So I'm going to start with the various layers of dies and die cut them from various colors of cardstock, and I'm also going to trim this ribbon out of this piece of striped cardstock that I created on Friday's YouTube Live, so if you want to go back and check that out, you can find it here on my channel. I'm trimming down these larger pieces of cardstock so that I can fit several of these dies onto my die cutting plates and run them all through with one pass. And you can see I've used Nectar, Watermelon, and Eucalyptus for these first three dies, and I'm going to use Juniper for the largest die. Now you can use this Fringe Present die in so many different ways, and this measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 when you finish it all off. That's excluding the bow that's on the top. So this will fit nicely on an A2 size card, but I thought it would be fun to do something a little different, a little kind of interactive, and create a pocket card. So those dimensions are going to be really important. You can see I'm finishing off my last bit of die cutting. I positioned that ribbon die kind of in the center of the stripe, which isn't the most efficient, but that's the portion of the stripe that I really wanted for my finished present. Now that finishes off all the pieces I need for the base of my present, and this ribbon piece is actually probably optional. You could create a present without it. And now I'm going to die cut my bow, and this I'm die cutting from some diamond glitter cardstock. It is super sparkly and I love this cardstock. Now I'm going to start trimming some various pieces, and the first piece I need is a base for my present, or it could also be considered the front of my pocket. I'm trimming this to match the dimensions of the finished present, so I am trimming this to 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 inches. Now I need to trim the base of my pocket, and so I need this a little larger than the pocket because I need to create some tabs on this. So I'm trimming this to 4 1/4 inches by 4 inches. This is going to give me the extra room that I need to create some tabs, and in order to create those tabs, I'm placing this in my score tool, and along the 4 1/4 inch side, I'm making 2 score lines, each 1/4 inch from the ends. This is going to allow me to create 1/4 inch tabs on both sides of this, on the width of it. And then I'm going to turn this, and on that 4 inch side, I am going to create one score line 1/4 inch up from the bottom. So now I have 3 sides of this 4 1/4 by 4 inch cardstock that have 1/4 inch score marks. You can see I have one there, and one along that side. Now that the score marks are in place, I'm going to fold up and create the tabs. I'll have one tab on each side and one tab along the bottom. So now that I've reinforced those, I'm going to trim out the little square that's created by the intersection of those score lines. But I'm going to trim just above that at an angle over to that score line. This isn't hard to do. I'm just eyeballing it, but you can see I've created kind of a little angle there and trimming off that little square that's created by the score lines. That's just going to allow me to fold these tabs up nicely and not have any extra bulk in the corner. So now that I have my 3 tabs created and I have those little corners trimmed out, I am going to reinforce these folds again because that's going to make assembling this pocket much easier. So I'm just going over all of these score lines, all of these tabs, and pressing them down with my bone folder. Once those tabs are kind of laying nice and flat, I'm going to take some 1/8 inch score tape, just any secure adhesive that you have will work for this. I have some 1/8 inch score tape, so I'm using that because it fits perfectly on these 1/4 inch tabs. I'm just running that along the front side of each of these tabs, and that's going to allow me to attach the front side of my pocket. So now that the adhesive's in place, I'm going to remove the backer from each of these strips of adhesive, and then I'm going to place that piece that measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 inches directly on top of this, right on top of those tabs, and that's going to create my pocket. I found it kind of helpful to stand this up on my work surface to get all of the edges lined up. And once I have it in place, I'm just going to press that down. Now I'll give you a look at this here. That creates a pocket that I can then slide a note card in. So now that I have my pocket created, I'm going to go ahead and add my Fringe Present pieces. But before I adhere those to that pocket, I'm going to just kind of rustle up the fringe using the handle of a paintbrush. And then I'm using some tape runner adhesive on the back of each of these layers, making sure that I don't have any adhesive where the fringe is. So all of this adhesive is going in the solid part of this die cut. I'll place that onto my pocket and I'll continue to build my present by adding adhesive to the back side of each of these layers, lining them up along the top of my pocket and pressing them down. I started with the Juniper at the bottom, which is the largest of the die cuts, and then I went to Eucalyptus, Watermelon, and finally Nectar, and I'm just placing all of those along the top of that pocket that I created. Now, once that's all securely positioned together, I'm going to start working on the note card that will slide out of this pocket. So I have a piece of white cardstock and I'm going to cut this to 3 3/4 inches because I want it to be just as tall as my present, but I am going to trim the width to 3 5/8 inches. That's going to allow a little wiggle room for it to slide in and out of the pocket easily. So you can see that this slides down in there really nicely. It is the same height as the pocket, so it's 3 3/4 inches tall, but it's slightly more narrow to allow it to just move in and out really nicely. Now I've taken that bow die and I have die cut 4 plain white die cuts using that bow die, and I've done this with some heavyweight cardstock. And I'm adding some liquid glue just on the bottom of this bow die cut and placing it right at the top of this note card that I've created. Now I'm going to flip this over, and to give it a finished look on the back, I am going to add adhesive to another one of those bow die cuts. And luckily the top of this is symmetrical, so it works out really well. And then I'm going to trim one of these bow dies in half. I'm just using the upper portions of those loops, and I'm adding some liquid glue onto the back. This is going to help kind of even out the die cuts that I'm placing back to back. So you can see I'm putting this partial die cut along the top back side of the bow that's on the front, and then on the back side I'm sandwiching another bow die cut, and that's just giving it a clean finished look. It's also providing a place to kind of grab this note card and pull it out of the top of the pocket. This works out really well, and since we have a couple layers of that heavyweight cardstock, it's really sturdy along the top, so it's not bending and moving as I pull it out of the pocket. So now it's time to work on our bow for the front of our card, or the front of our pocket here. I have a plain white die cut that I'm adding some liquid glue to, and on the top of that I am adding my diamond glitter bow that I created. I'm just making sure that everything's not lined up nicely, and then along the little perforated or score lines that the die creates, I'm just bending up the little tails of the bow to give it a little more life and dimension. If you wanted this to kind of lay a little flatter, then you could skip folding this up. So before I place the bow on the front of the present, I need to add my little ribbon strip here. And so I'm just using some tape runner adhesive. I'm placing that onto my Fringe Present, and then I'm just kind of using the tail or the back side of my Teflon bone folder to lift up the fringe again, just to make sure it stays nice and dimensional. Now I'm adding liquid glue just to the bottom of the loops of this bow, and I'm going to position it right on the front of my present here, making sure it lines up with the bow that's on top of the note card that's inside of this pocket. And you can see now I have my little note card that slides in and out really nicely. To finish off my present, I am using the Upright Greetings birthday stamp set. This is also new from Pretty Pink Posh, and I am stamping the happy birthday greeting onto some Nectar cardstock using some watermelon ink, and then I'm just trimming that down into a little strip. I've also trimmed a strip of diamond glitter cardstock and Juniper cardstock. I've stacked these up, and then I've kind of tied them together using a little bit of twine, and I'm positioning them onto my present using some foam adhesive, and I'm going to allow that twine to kind of hang freely. Then I'll add some sparkle to my finished project using some sparkling clear confetti. This stuff has been around from the beginning of Pretty Pink Posh, and it's still one of my favorites. So here is my finished DIY pocket card featuring the new Fringe Present die from Pretty Pink Posh. I love how this turned out. I love all of the colors, and I love that it's kind of a fun, interactive, unexpected card design. You can see how nicely the inside note card pulls out and slides back into that pocket. And even with that note card pulled out, you still have your beautiful present. I hope you'll give this DIY pocket card a try. You can try it with other dies that you may have already in your stash. It works perfectly though with this new Fringe Present die from Pretty Pink Posh. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have that linked below as well. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. As always, I want to say thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here so you don't miss any of my paper crafting, card making, and live stream video tutorials. Once again, thanks for watching. I'm so glad you're here. Happy birthday, Pretty Pink Posh, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.